So I have this OBJ file importer that's not performing as well as I'd like it to. I ran it through Talon Microscope, and I'm going to show you how to find out exactly what it's doing. First, we're going to use the standard heat map. Now, this is basically just going to check for nested loops, and it's going to colorize areas of the code the more nested its loops are. So as you can see, I've got a few areas here that kind of go towards orange, no red, and that's fantastic. So most of this is probably not happening in some nested loop that I'm not aware of. But just to be sure, I also want to check the call stack. This is going to show all of the different functions that are being called from another function. So I can look through this very easily and see that basically there's not a whole lot of additional call stacks, additional calls into other functions happening that I don't already know about. Okay, so the last one is I'm going to pull up the history, and I showed you in an earlier video how you can use the history to very easily walk through a program and see exactly what's going on. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to use the history along with a new feature, which is the history heat map. Now, if I just hit play right now, it's going to walk through where things are. And if I hit the letter F to focus, it will show me that here is where our calls are actually occurring. Okay. So there are quite a few of those, and if I scrub through it, I can see that out of 83,000 calls in the time that I was monitoring it, here's basically where it's going. What I want to know is exactly where all does it go. So if we use the history heat map, it will colorize all of the calls based on how often they show up in the history. So now I can very easily see that certain areas in red, those are the ones that are being called the most often. Green are called occasionally, and the gray are not being called at all. So immediately I can see that this parse vector from CMPS is being called quite a bit. And I can see that this, whatever this is a loop of some sort, is being called quite a bit. I can pull up the info to find out more information about that particular line, exactly what that line is, and where I can find it in my code. Using this information, it's very easy to then walk through my code and figure out exactly what's going on and where the slowdown might be occurring. I can also, by scrubbing through the history, tell that for about 3/4 of the history of the time that I was recording, we were in this upper portion of the code. And then about somewhere around 1/4 to 1/5 of the way, close to the end, we ducked down to this lower part. So from here, I can tell that this lower part here is where I'm spending, well, I'm spending quite a bit of time, but it's only actually a fraction, about 1/5 of the total time that I'm spending in the code. And that's it. This will be online and available to everyone very soon.